Subscribers to NewOrleans.Football get an ad-reduced version of the show, all of our news analysis, our post-game show as it's live, the live recording of every single show as it's live, the members-only podcast, and so much more. Make sure you sign up for that. Use the code SOBAC to save 20% off your first payment. It's normally $9 a month or $89 a month or $89 a year. Welcome back to the Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio for another episode of NewOrleans.Football presented by PJ's Coffee. We're up here at their location on Airline Drive in Metairie, right across the street from Rouse's. Make sure you come up here and check them out. Get your day started with them every single day and drive up here in a car that you get from my guy Matt Bowers at one of his many dealerships all throughout the region. Best car dealer in the whole entire world. Go there and buy a car. He'll prove it to you. We got a great show for you guys today. They're going to play Dallas this weekend. We're going to break down that game, what it means that Lattimore hasn't practiced this week, what it means that Fuaga hasn't practiced this week, how they could overcome those losses, and so much more. So if you are not a member to NOF, you're going to hit a quick commercial break here. For everybody else, we'll be back right after the intro song. Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute is a regional leader in orthopedic and sports medicine innovation and treatment, caring for both our active community and the New Orleans Saints. To learn more, visit ochsner.org/sportsmed. Long live you. The NewOrleans.Football show is proudly presented by PJ's Coffee. PJ's Coffee has some of the best drinks that you can find. They have locations all over the city. They have pastries and everything else you need to get your day started. So go check them out.
Score big with Saints Score. Win up to $100,000. Enter the second chance drawings for cool Saints prize packages. Play Saints Score scratch-offs from the lottery.
NewOrleans.Football is proudly sponsored by Urban South Brewery, the makers of Paradise Park Lager. I love supporting local breweries, and when looking for a refreshing, easy drinking beer, I always recommend Paradise Park. In fact, I think it might be the best game day beer out there. If you want something a little lighter, try Paradise Light. It's everything I love about Paradise Park with just 96 calories and 2.6 carbs. And if you're looking for a family-friendly place to watch the game, I'd recommend Urban South's Tap Room in the Lower Garden District. They've got 15 TVs, 30 unique beers on tap, and mouth-watering urban smash burgers. The whole family will want to make Urban South their new living room, because at Urban South, they take laid back seriously. Looking for the best insurance coverage at the lowest price? Look no further than Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency. They are a local independent insurance agency right here in New Orleans, specializing in home, flood, and auto insurance. Their agents are born and raised in the area and understand our community's unique needs and the homeowners insurance crisis our residents are currently in. At Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, their dedicated team will shop every available carrier in the market, ensuring you get the most comprehensive coverage at the lowest possible price. They know your time is valuable, which is why they work diligently to provide you with the quotes as soon as possible. Why settle for less when you can have the best? Trust Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, to protect what matters most to you. I do. I've been a client of theirs since 2021. When we couldn't find someone to insure our house because of the big oak tree growing over top, Chabert worked until they found someone that would work with us and give us the protection that we need to feel safe in our new home. Call them today at 504-326-6526 or visit them online at Protected by Chabert. That's 504-326-6526. Chabert Insurance, the Earhart Agency, your local insurance experts. Hardhide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is an 86 proof blend of aged wheat bourbon, American light whiskey, and fresh Ponchatoula strawberries. Blended in New Orleans, it is not for the thin-skinned. Look for it in your favorite stores, bars, and restaurants. NewOrleans.Football is proud to be sponsored by Firehouse Subs. Make sure you check out their location on Veterans Boulevard. Attention Saints fans, don't let pests and termites invade your home field. Trust the team at Red Pest Solutions to tackle those unwelcome visitors. Call the Red Man today for unbeatable pest and termite control. Score peace with no pest. Visit redpest.com, REDDPEST.com. All right, let's get into the show.
Welcome to the Ochsner Andrew Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here at PJ's Coffee for this episode of NOF. I'm Brandon Thomas, joined by Mike Triplett and Nick Underhill.
Yeah, and for you guys that are not signed up to NewOrleans.Football, you get an ad-reduced version of the show. You don't get the commercial breaks. You get all the news, the analysis, so much more. Use the code SOBACK to save 20% on your first payment. Get locked in for everything we got going on over there.
Our first segment is presented by Urban South. Marshon Lattimore and Taliese Fuaga were both listed as questionable. If they can't go Sunday, which one is the bigger loss? And, who would it be harder to make up for not having on the field?
I think Fuaga.
Is that crazy?
Yeah. I'm comfortable not having Lattimore on the field. I mean, I think that's probably just what it is. It's just I haven't seen a whole lot of him the last couple of years. Didn't see him all summer. Don't know where he's kind of really at health-wise. Physically, is he totally in shape? Is he not? I don't know. He might be. He might be ready to roll and handle this type of assignment. But I've seen what they can do without him. You should be terrified not having him going against CeeDee Lamb. Maybe I'm an idiot for thinking it. But it feels like Fuaga's the bigger loss out of the two.
Well, I would say this. If you told me I could have one of those guys at their max right now, at the best of their abilities right now, I might take Marshon.
No, you wouldn't.
But I don't know how far away Marshon is from that.
I don't think you would. I don't think you actually would in a real setting. There's no way you do that because you're more comfortable with the drop-off to what they have and their ability to scheme over it than going from Fuaga to Landon Young.
In theory,
against Micah Parsons?
In theory, I think I am, but I have seen nothing. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to start on the outside.
I think you're just playing devil's advocate here, man.
But I don't feel Isaac Yiadom held up well last year, and that was cool that we got to see that work out for the Saints. But I think Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to start in this game, and I think he could get I think the Cowboys could take advantage of that.
They're both
I'm not giving the Saints credit for having a proven backup behind Lattimore, and I think Lattimore, if he was right, we all ranked him as the best player on the team. Fuaga, I don't think he's a top 10 player on the team yet, but I do agree a drop-off from Fuaga to probably Landon Young at left tackle against this defensive front is terrifying. I mean, if we were going to rank the five guys you can't be without, these two are probably both on the list. So
I think
there's no devil's advocate about it.
Specifically in this game, though, I think any game, though. They are more well-equipped to cover up a loss in the secondary than they are. I would argue that at offensive tackle, they are the least equipped to overcome an injury out of any position. I think because of the drop-off, that has nothing to do with Marshon's value. We know that they can cover that up to some degree. Is it going to be good? Probably not. This is a guy that had 1,700 yards. He was beating the best cornerbacks in the league last year. He's going to beat a replacement level backup for sure. He's probably going to get 100 yards in this game. But I would be much more comfortable if you tell me which your better odds of survival. To me, the better odds of survival are having Fuaga because what they can do with that tackle position. They don't have two real starters yet. We don't know that. So now you're going even further down the list. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
Two things that back up your point. I think we feel even stronger about that take after seeing Fuaga play so well in week one.
Yeah.
If Fuaga had looked like a work in progress and he didn't look that much better than backup, he looked great. He looked like a huge asset, and he instantly was like, oh, man, Fuaga, what did you say? They got a guy.
They got a guy. Yeah, they got one. Yeah.
And the other thing, no matter what, CeeDee Lamb is going to be a handful for a guy I just wrote about, Alontae Taylor. CeeDee Lamb works out of the slot considerably more than most number one receivers. So even if it was Marshon Lattimore, it would only be Marshon Lattimore part of the time. He's going to test Alontae Taylor, too. He moves all over the field.
I was able to talk to Landon Young today in the locker room, and he said he's just trying to prepare to go wherever they tell him to go. So he said he saw James Hurst do it, and he's been kind of doing it himself. So he said he's preparing. But, look, you got a monster coming off that edge. You got a monster in CeeDee Lamb.
Two of them.
Yeah, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons. You got some monsters back there. Plus, they have that guy who was hurt last year. He's starting to play now. It's a tough situation to deal with on that tackle position. So
and they move them around. And so your communication channels that you've been working on the whole offseason and the level of comfort with different people and now that all changes. This is worst case scenario, it being without one of these guys this week.
I'm stealing from our Martin's question of the day, so we'll have to come up with a creative way to answer this later, but I think it's important to bring this up in this segment. You said we've seen for years that Dennis Allen and Joe Woods and even before Joe Woods got here that they've made the secondary work with secondary guys. How much more confident after last week are you that Klint Kubiak and John Benton and Rick Dennison can come up with a game plan that diminishes their exposure if it's Landon Young at left tackle and Trevor Penning at right tackle.
A little bit, but I would even argue I don't even think the talent level is comparable though. Like you're talking a late round pick versus a guy that most people thought was the most polished corner in college football coming out. He just didn't get drafted higher because his athletic profile isn't that of the people above him. But I think most people believe that he was kind of the most technically savvy person.
McKinstry,
yeah. So,
but I don't even mean in comparison. I'm saying specifically offensive line. Is this Micah Parsons and Tank Lawrence? If it is versus Landon Young and Trevor Penning, can any coach scheme their way around that?
Well, if you have the lead, if you have the lead and they can't really rush the passer, and then you have your running game going, and then you can do your jet sweeps, and they're working because it's early down, and that's going to kind of take the edge off a little bit. You can do some things to widen the edge a little bit, but if you're having to throw your way back into this and you're down 2 scores and you got to shoot down the field and you got to go, spread and all that stuff, it's a disaster situation. So it depends on really how the game is played. But I think if they stay in it early, they don't get behind, like at least you have a fighting chance. But if they get behind and Kool-Aid is getting cooked and they are giving up a lot of points, like you're just kind of screwed altogether. So it's a lose-lose situation really both ways. But I'm telling you, man, like I just don't know. I don't know what Marshon is as a player right now. I really don't. Totally I think there's a great player in there. I mean, I think there is, but he didn't do anything in camp. We haven't seen him in half. He missed the whole back half of last season. I don't
the whole back half of the season before that.
Yeah, I just don't know what he is at this point in time. Normally this would be devastating. Oh my God, you lost him. I don't know. Like against one of the marquee guys. Is it? I don't know. If he's not ready, is it better? Is it better because now you're actually coming up with a plan instead of just saying we're going to drop him on him and hope he takes him away? And what if he isn't physically capable right now? What if his legs aren't all the way underneath him and you find that out, 24 minutes into the game? What are you doing at that point? I don't know. It's an insane thought, and I don't mean that to be disrespectful. Yeah. It's just we have not seen him play in such a long time. I just don't know. Yeah. When he's out on the field, what's he actually going to be? And look, he could practice Saturday, go out there and shut him down, and I wouldn't be surprised by that either. It's just I don't know in this very moment who Marshon Lattimore is.
One other strategy angle to it, even if you went into the game and said, we just don't have Marshon, let's make a plan without him. I don't think Adebo would shadow CeeDee Lamb. I think that was one of the questions we got in our mailbag submission, especially because CeeDee Lamb spends so much time in the slot that it would become kind of a futile effort. They move him around so much that shadowing him is kind of hard to do.
Well, I mean, if you have peak Marshon, he can move. And the problem with Adebo going in slot is that I don't think he has the hips to do the release against somebody that quick.
So it'd be he only follows him left and right, but then when he's in the slot, he doesn't follow him. That you could do something like that, but I don't know that they will.
I don't think they will.
Our next segment is presented by New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood. Sticking with these positions that we're talking about, what matchups are you're looking forward to most in Sunday's game?
Well, I'll tell you my favorite, which plays into this a little bit, and we've got a lot of good player matchups. But Klint Kubiak versus Mike Zimmer.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't even really think about this much until halfway through the week. This is not really his mentor, but the guy he was his boss for a couple of years and gave him his first OC job. So Zimmer knows Kubiak. I mean, I was thinking back to the old classic Bill Parcells when he took his shot on young whippersnapper Sean Payton, and he used to call him Dennis the Menace, and he used to yell at him to not get so exotic with his play calls and everything. Yeah. That's what Zimmer knows of Kubiak. He saw him try things in his first time as a play caller. He saw him fail. He saw him succeed. He probably knows his tendencies. I think Zimmer's going to know Kubiak better than Kubiak's probably going to know Zimmer. And so Kubiak has obviously evolved since then. He went to work in Denver. He went to work in San Francisco. He's now running his own show here. So I'm sure he'll have some wrinkles for the old boss. And Peyton relished beating Parcells every time he got the chance. But it is really interesting that Kubiak is the man of the moment, not even in the NFL right now. And in week 2, he's going up against a defensive guru who is his old boss. I think it's such a fascinating cat and mouse matchup.
Looking forward to is a term I don't think I would use in this game for a lot of the player-on-player matchups. It feels like a lot of hopefully they survive this. Hopefully they found a way to overcome this. Okay. I don't know that there's anything where I'm like, man, this is going to be this is going to be great to watch these
Yeah.
two guys go against each other. I'm not looking forward to see, Trevor Penning against Parsons or Tank. I'm not looking forward to seeing Fuaga / Landon Young against either one of those guys. You're just hoping they can find a way to kind of stand in there and survive a little bit. I don't really get too excited about the corner stuff without Marshon out there. So, I mean, there's just really not. I mean, Alvin versus Kendricks is one that Alvin's kind of had the upper hand on a lot of times throughout the years. If they get matched up, that's something maybe. But I don't know if looking forward is the right word. Like, I think there's a lot of these matchups that could go their way, but a lot of stuff has to go that way. But I don't feel like it's a lot of strength on strength here. It's kind of, can you mask your weaknesses against their strengths? And then I feel like the Saints' strengths kind of stack up favorably against some of Dallas's stuff. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I guess DA versus Dak is one that I guess would be kind of interesting to see. They're going to disguise their coverages as they always do. I do believe that Dak's going to create a couple opportunities for turnovers, like he does in every game.
He's done that
every game.
In his career.
Every game, there's always a ball up for grabs every time you watch him. I think there's going to be a few of them in this game. I think they'll be able to confuse him a little bit. You got to be able to take advantage of those, and if you can do that and take advantage, I think you can win this game. But that's going to have to happen. Like, they have to turn the ball over in this game.
Demarion Overshawn, he showed out a little bit against Cleveland. He was a name that was called very often. And I think just the ability to try to block him is going to be important for the running backs and the tight ends. Just whoever can put a hand and a hat on them, it'll be crucial. But Trayvon Diggs, just to see,
that's a name we should have mentioned by now.
If his clamp levels are still there, to see,
I would disagree with the term clamp levels. So I think the reason he succeeds is because he is taller and longer than every other cornerback in the league. No, it's not even out physical. I think his coverage is actually loose, and if you watch him, I feel like it's loose coverage. But what happens is when you're a quarterback and you got Parsons coming in on you, you got Tank coming in on you, you see a throw window and you throw the ball, and then you got this guy that's Legion of Boom-esque, like he's one of them.
Gotcha.
So the throw window is different than what it is for a lot of other people. So you think that something's open because you're usually throwing at 5'11", 6-foot guys. This guy is 6'1", 6'2", and he's even longer than that. Yeah. So all of a sudden, you think you can get a ball in there, and then this Stretch Armstrong dude picks the ball off, and that's kind of what happens. He gets beat a lot. His coverage is not. It's not like watching Marshon, but he'll get 7 picks because people just aren't used to throwing at people like him, and when you're sped up, you make a bad decision. You see your guy, you see the corner, you might not see the number, and you're just making a decision based on your instincts. He's changing instincts, so he's a challenge in that regard, especially playing behind this front.
It's funny because Deron Bland, who's injured and won't play in this game, even took that to the next level last year with all his pick sixes, but he would lose sometimes. I mean, what a fascinating defense they have to watch because they love playing with a lead. I know you've mentioned how this team gets out the first quarter, plays with a lead. It's also a team that has won, I think, 17 straight home games, Dallas, in the regular season. They lost a playoff game at home last year. But one more matchup I will mention where I think the Saints could theoretically have an advantage. We're going to talk more about Chase Young later in the show. But the Cowboys are starting 2 rookie offensive linemen. We think about how good their offensive line is. They don't have Tyron Smith anymore. Zach Martin is sort of like a Demario Davis-level guy. He never seems to age, but he's older. Tyler Guyton, rookie left tackle for them, a guy we liked, I know, coming out of the draft, but considered second tier behind that big 4 or 5 guys that went early in the draft. They got him 29th. And then their center, Cooper Beebe, is a third-round pick that they're starting. So they started 2 rookie offensive linemen, and they have the 32nd best running back core in the league or whatever. So the Saints need to win on the defensive line for sure.
One thing I'll say for their running back, so I don't know what has been throughout his career, but this last game, Zeke actually blocked pretty well, so that was one thing he kind of had going for him. So I don't know if that's a consistent thing or not. Jake Ferguson, doubtful, right, for this game?
Doubt he'll
that's a big hit for them. I mean, you take away the security blanket from Dak, that's something that I kind of like, especially in a game where the Saints are probably going to try to tee off on him a little bit. If you don't have that quick outlet, I like that. And then I don't know if he's actually good or not, but Kalen Carson, he started at corner for them. I thought he played pretty good in this last game. I have no idea what he is as a player. That might have been, hey, he looks good because the Browns quarterback is the worst quarterback in the NFL, and he just can't throw accurate passes. So maybe he was giving stuff up, and your eye just never got drawn to it. But when he was challenged in this game, I thought he looked okay, but that's something that could change very quickly this week.
Our next segment is presented by Shawbear Insurance, the Earhart Agency. How much wiggle room did the Saints buy themselves with the Week 1 win? Can they afford a dud at Dallas? And do they have to either beat Philly or Dallas?
Yeah, we were talking about this. This is one of those conversations we were having on the sideline press. I mean, the goodwill is so much better a week later than it was from the fan base. Certainly the buy-in in the locker room, we thought that was strong. That's only stronger. So they've got wiggle room. They do have some wiggle room. I don't know if they can go and get blown out by Dallas. I don't know if that takes everything away. I think they're going to be favored to lose at home against Philadelphia next week, probably too, unless they pull off an upset here. So they're supposed to be a 1-2 team. Can showing their upsides? I tend to think yes. I don't want to see them get too far behind. They got Kansas City in Week 5. I mean, yeah, they could survive being 1-2. Yeah, they could survive being 2-3. But I think to keep this level of momentum, they definitely have to find a way to win, either at Dallas or at Philly. And I think they have to be competitive. I don't think they can be on the wrong side of a 47-10 or anything like that. I think the equivalent loss to what they did in Week 1 would be enough to sort of wipe it away.
After what they felt in Week 1, though, I don't think like the locker room would falter if they had a bad game this week. And they would look at it much more logically. Like if E wasn't here doing our show and we have a bunch of bad cuts and stuff, someone watching it from the outside might be like, "Oh, that sucks." But like we'd be sitting here and being like, "Well, like our best guy wasn't here, and that's why the show was bad." Like, so I think
I was still here, right?
Yeah, but I think like with Fuaga being out, Lattimore being out, people on the team would actually look at that logically. Whereas people on the outside are like, "Oh, those are excuses," and it's like, well, like they know, know. So I don't think it would shatter them. But as far as perception, buy-in, going back to the dome, all the stuff we talked about, if they get beat 47-10, they're on the other side of that. It's right back to where it was Week 1, where it's like, man, like if they start out bad, people are going to boo. But like if they play a good competitive game, I think a lot of people would still be enthusiastic about where they're at right now, because this is one of the best teams in the NFL. They are a team that could easily win the Super Bowl, especially McCaffrey going on IR. Like if that's an injury that lingers all year and they get weaker, like Dallas is a team that could level themselves out with the 49ers. They're that good.
And this isn't just the Cowboys. This is the regular season Cowboys. The regular season Cowboys are incredible. Yeah. This isn't the playoff Cowboys.
Another name we didn't mention in our matchup segment was familiar face, Brandon Cooks. He was out with rest earlier this week, but he should be full and ready to go. And he still has speed, and maybe he has a little bit of extra juice in the tank because he's going against the Saints.
Interesting.
Never know. We're going to hit a quick break here for our general listeners, but if you're subscribed to NOF, we're going to keep the action going.
Total Maintenance is one of the largest locally owned home and commercial service providers in South Louisiana. They were founded in 1980 and serve the greater New Orleans and Baton Rouge markets. And Total Maintenance wants to show some love to our NOF listeners. They have a membership program that gets you 2 tune-up visits for AC and heating, as well as club membership discounts of 15% on all repairs, half off of all diagnostic charges, and 3-year warranties on most repairs for membership clients. This is usually priced at the low price of $24.95 a month per system, but if you tell Total Maintenance that you found them through NOF, they'll lower the price to $20.95 per month per system for as long as you keep the membership active. It will never increase. Total Maintenance has a tune-up special running this summer for $79, down from the normal price of $179. This is a one-time offer for one system only. They also offer a free diagnostic on second opinions on units deemed to be unrepairable, and they offer free estimates for replacements as well as commercial maintenance programs. Services include AC and heating service and replacement, electrical service, plumbing service, as well as generator service and installation. They are Total Maintenance. Find them at tm-ac.com or give them a call at 504-841-3300, or if you're in the Baton Rouge area, 225-480-1000. Martin Wine and Spirits is home to a selection of hand-picked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and much, much more. They are family owned and operated since 1946 and specialize in wine, spirits, gourmet food, gift baskets, catering, and tasting events. They have many locations, so they're never too far away. You can check them out in Metairie, New Orleans, Mandeville, and Baton Rouge, or if it's more convenient, you can always shop online. Whether you're a wine novice or a seasoned collector, you'll enjoy the Martin Wine and Spirit experience.
Score big with kickoff combos at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company. Comes with fried shrimp and your choice of soft-shell crab traditional or our famous thin-fried catfish, all served with garlic herb fries, starting at only $10.99. Only at New Orleans Hamburger and Seafood Company.
There's nothing quite like the feeling of stepping into your dream home. At Jefferson Financial Federal Credit Union, we can help make that dream a reality with a team dedicated to you. When you partner with Jefferson Financial, you do so for the life of the loan. Having a single point of contact when questions arise is invaluable. Our experts are here to guide you every step of the way. There's no better time to invest in your future. Apply online at jeffersonfinancial.org. Federally insured by NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Whether you are a local New Orleanian or a fan in town for the game, get your pre- and post-game fired up at Aaron Rose. Local chaos and local love for the black and gold. Wake up and live with daily drink specials, mimosas, screwdrivers, Bloody Marys, and hot or frozen Irish coffees, all just $3 or $4 between 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Aaron Rose, half a block from Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, 811 Conti Street.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Savor game day platters and snacks, plus drink specials at 1717 Kitchen and Cocktails. Wall-to-wall, state-of-the-art TVs mean you'll see every touchdown, Hail Mary, and big turnover in crystal clear HD. Place your bets and feel the thrill of every play with our DraftKings Sportsbook. So come out for game day and let our team make you the MVP. The Queen Casino in Baton Rouge, where every moment is a win.
We're here at the Oshner Andrews Sports Medicine Institute podcast studio here at PJ's Coffee on 2600 Airline Drive. It is now time for our next segment presented by the Louisiana Lottery. Should fantasy managers be worried about the volume for Chris Olave? Sunday's game, he had 2 catches for just 11 yards in week 1.
Yeah, it's interesting because you want to dismiss it and you want to say, hey, look, he was double covered, so they had 5 other guys score touchdowns. No problem. Great for the team.
Yeah.
But is that just going to be I mean, if I'm another team and do the same thing to Olave again, I'm like, all right, go ahead and try to beat me with Foster Moreau and Jamal Williams and Juwan Johnson. I'm not letting Olave beat me. And they've got, as we said, they've got a good corner. I don't know if he'll shadow Olave, but it might be hard for Olave being identified as the one guy. Like, it's a lot easier when you've got your Tyreek Hill and your Jalen Waddle. And, Olave is the one guy that I think every defense is going to stop. So I'm still very high on Olave. I was very high on him. I said I thought he could be a 100-catch guy. We just saw him getting peppered with targets. I think that's possible for him, but I do have to admit, after seeing it play out, I think he's going to be living against double teams this whole year.
Maybe a little. I mean, they're a team that plays soft zone, though, too. So,
Sure.
So there's a lot of, hey, we're going to go down the field and we're going to open the stuff up underneath. And then, it's about the functionality of the whole system, not just one player. And I don't think that they're going to just cater to Chris. You can find ways to get someone open against that stuff, but I don't think every week they're going to do that. I think that was just kind of the plan. Hey, they're going to play soft zone. We can kind of clear out some of this stuff, and we're going to do it. And if he's open, he's open. If he's not, he's not. So be it. But, yeah, I mean, I think I'm expecting him to go out here and get 5 catches this week. I don't think it's going to be every week. I think there probably will be weeks where they're going to cater to that. It's just I thought that one game was maybe – one of those things, and sometimes that's just how it goes, and that's the nature of the beast. But I think he's gonna be all right.
He's a special player. I mean, he's a special player. This is true of everybody. The Saints should do everything to stop CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb's still going to get his in this game. So some guys you just can't stop, and Olave is close to that category.
There also wasn't a high volume of passes in that game either.
It's true.
There really wasn't, and they didn't play the fourth quarter. So
yeah.
If you go one more quarter, you get 2 more catches, and that becomes 57 yards and a touchdown. On 4 catches or whatever. So it looks a little bit different. So I think it was just kind of a limited game. They ran the ball really well. They played kind of this weird soft zone. I'm willing to bet it's an aberration.
We'll have to see how Kubiak's offense evolves this week against a tougher matchup. You can't argue that. Our next segment is presented by Aaron Rose, the guy in 99, Chase Young. Has he emerged as one of the biggest difference makers on the Saints' defense so far?
Not one of them. Is he number one? I mean, I was trying to think of this from the matchup standpoint. If people are doing a Cowboys podcast and they're like, all right, who do the Cowboys have to go against this week? I mean, is he your number? I mean, Demario Davis is still the dean. But, I mean, if you're doing all right, Cowboys matchups, what's the keys to winning this game?
Yeah.
Well, they got to stop chasing. I almost think he's become that guy already.
He should be. I think people are probably sleeping on him still, though.
Yeah.
They're just like, well, that's Chase Young, and he played
do it.
Carolina. I listened to so many things this week just to see what people were saying about this game, and everybody's treating it like it's a joke. Honestly, they are. Like, nobody's giving them any credit. It was an afterthought on every single podcast I listened to. Like, all of them were just like, yeah, well, that's like Saints-Panthers. Bill Simmons said he watched 6 of the 8 games. He said there were 2 he didn't even put on. The Saints and the Panthers was one of them.
He kept this in his poop-fecta category for this week, which is his lowest category of interesting games.
I mean, whatever, man. Whatever. Like, Mays and them, that, they kind of, hey, let's see it again.
Yeah.
Like, every single podcast, it was there. Nobody's giving them credit. The power rankings are still all 23, 24. Like, nobody's giving them credit for that win. So, I mean, look, I think if you're the Saints, you like that, though. Hey, whatever. Like, people are sleeping on them, and now it's on you to go out and prove them wrong. So, we'll see.
This could be the wake-up game nationally for this.
But I think Chase as well, though, is probably flying under the radar a little bit yet. I think people are still looking at him like, well, he's fine. Guy that can get like 9 sacks. But if you watch this game, if you watch training camp, it is different. It's different. And I think he's going to show people very soon.
Can't wait to see it, honestly speaking.
3 sacks behind the team lead, though, right now.
Yeah. Like, Belichick called them Tuesday players. Like, I think very soon, like, Chase could become a Tuesday player. Like, those are the guys, like, Tuesday morning, you sit down for meetings. Who are the people we're taking away? We aren't letting beat us. I think Chase Young's going to soon be one of those guys. I don't know if teams are even looking at him like that yet, but I think he is different. I think the surgery is going to make him different. I think people.
I always know him well. I mean, Mike Zimmer not necessarily, but Dak knows him well. I mean, his whole career with Washington, he was facing Dak, so I'm sure he comes with respect. If you watch that tape, I don't know how he's not a Tuesday player after watching the tape of that first game.
Would Ed Reed have been a Tuesday player? Because I was looking at some stuff on Twitter, and it was like Tom Brady had it written on his sleeve, wherever 20 is, like, keep your eyes out.
No, there's a great story about Ed Reed, like how I don't know, he set something up so that he could come back later in the year and get a pick. Like, he played a play wrong on purpose, knowing that if they saw him again later, Belichick and Brady would attack him that way.
Yeah.
And Ed did it wrong to create something because he knew they'd see it, so when they'd run it again in the playoffs, he could get a pick, and he did. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy how it goes. Shout out St. Rose. Now it's time for the Martin Wine and Spirits question of the day. Martin's is home to a wide selection of handpicked barrel select bourbon, whiskeys, and more. Martin's so much more than just wine. Today's first question comes from Mike Wood. DA was outspoken about players being available this offseason. Is frustration growing with Marshon Lattimore?
It's got to be. It's got to be.
How can it not be?
It's got to be. And he legitimate reason to miss this game. So, I mean, it's like I hate having the conversation under the specter of an injury because you don't know, but it lingered 2 years ago. It lingered last year. It lingered in training camp. Like, there has to be frustration, whether it's real or not, like, just the accumulation of injuries. Like, that creates a level of frustration. When someone can't come to work consistently, now going on 3 years in a row, it's impossible not to be frustrated with it, regardless of the reason or why. It's just the fact that it's happening is an incredibly frustrating thing. It's got to be frustrating to his teammates too. I mean, people want him on the field. They want him to be able to go out here and cover CD. Like, that's what he's supposed to do. Like, it has to be frustrating for everybody.
Yeah, and look, we heard the public comments that he made about Kendry Miller and even A.T. Perry to an extent that wasn't really injuries or whatever. And it feels like, oh, now he's starting to hold people accountable. Well, that same message was being sent to Marshon Lattimore in past years, and I think it was a big part of the reason for the tension between Dennis Allen and Marshon Lattimore. So this frustration has already existed in the past. And this year they said they kind of mended some fences, so maybe there's some tiptoeing around it, understanding, all right, maybe it was a real hip flexor, maybe it's a real hamstring, but this frustration he was already the leader in the clubhouse with most frustration over this very subject. So without question, I mean, how do you manage it when your star player this keeps happening to? You can't be as publicly hard on him as you were on Kendry Miller possibly, but maybe all those messages to Kendry Miller are also messages to Marshon Lattimore. And we've heard coded messages from teammates and leaders on the team too that you can't help but think, if they're not saying it directly to Marshon, they're hoping he's hearing it.
I will say this, like, last year's thing, when it first happened, he wasn't around. He's around right now, so I think that's a good sign. That's a good sign. It's just tough. It's tough to have the conversation because you never know what it actually is. And I don't doubt, like, we saw him actually get hurt on the field. So, like, I believe that there's an injury right now. But there's no doubt that this is it's a guy that he's a guy that you should be building your defense around, your defensive game plans around, and you don't know if he's going to be on the field, when he's going to be on the field, what the health situation is going to be. That makes it really, really hard. That's why you pay him what you pay him, because he is a game-changing player. He's a system. Like, you build around his ability. This is a week you should be building around his ability, and you can't. And when you can't do that, I think it holds everything back a little bit. I mean, there's a reason that he had the option bonus. They wanted to have the ability to trade him. There's no doubt about that. They searched the market. It didn't happen. I mean, I don't see how you can not be frustrated with him. And again, it might be incredibly unfair to be talking about this right now, because maybe he's back next week and off it goes, but it's just off to another bad start. And, you know, at a certain point, it's tough. Like, it's kind of tough to pay someone that isn't playing. Like, it just really is.
Next up from JT, if Fuaga is out, how much do you think Klint can scheme to nullify Dallas' strength in their pass rush, screen game to Kamara, run at the ends, heavy play action? It seems Klint is cerebral and knows how to scheme to hide weaknesses, but without Fuaga, do you think the run blocking can hold up well enough to execute a game plan like this? So basically, do you think Klint Kubiak can scheme to nullify?
So like I said before, like, I think it's a lot easier to do when you're killing the other team. It really is. But if it's 3rd and 8 and you're down by 14 and you got to get a 9-yard pass and you got to use a 5-step drop, it's a whole different game. Like, and we didn't see those last week. There was 5 of them, I think, through the whole game. Like, it's easy to hide it when you can hide it, but, you know, when the basement door's open and, you know, there's a monster in the basement and, you know, it gets out. It just kind of happens if you got to leave that door open. So it's tough.
13th.
It's tough to see it. Maybe they can. I mean, I like his ability to do it much better than Pete Carmichael, no doubt about it. But we've seen it once in a game that was incredibly favorable to him being able to do that.
A couple of different things. We don't know for sure that Fuaga's out yet, and this isn't even coded. Like, I mean, I think he's a genuinely 50-50. I get that impression. I talked to him briefly. Me and Brandon talked to him briefly. Mm-hmm. He said tomorrow's going to be a big day to figure it out. Dennis Allen made it seem like they will let him play even without practicing because he's a smart guy, handles himself like a veteran. So I honestly think this is a true 50-50 situation right now. So he might still play. Second thing, John Benton said exactly. I really enjoyed talking to John Benton. I feel like there's no filter on him. He's not worried about coach speak. He just lays it out flatly, their offensive line coach. When he was asked about the Fuaga and Penning, he said, we played a game that didn't stress them too much. I mean, they came out and really got to play the fun part of being an offensive lineman, running the football and play actions. Both of them did a great job, but there's still some tests out there. We are going to get down by 2 scores at some point and have to protect and do that kind of thing. Like,
there you go, yeah.
Yeah, so he said the exact same thing. But specifically to the question, do you think any of these like truly work in the NFL? I mean, we hear it all the time how, oh, the Saints had no sacks. Yeah, but, you know, we played Matt Ryan and he gets rid of the ball quick. Tom Brady gets rid of the ball quick. Which one of these things are tried and true, can actually keep Derek Carr upright? Quick passes, Kamara, like is there anything you think the Saints can really do effectively so that people aren't terrified if it's Landon Young and Trevor Penning out there?
It's the same thing. Like, you can get the ball out really quick on 1st and 2nd, but if you have a negative play, if you go backwards at all,
that's when it's
and especially if you're trailing, like if you're trailing in a game and you got to get back in, it becomes a lot harder on 3rd and 7 to hand the ball off, just to kind of, okay, we can, if we got a punt here, no big deal. You know, you can't really play the game that way. So it's just really having that lead. Like, Brady was always able to get the ball out really quick because they never went backwards, and they were, you know, usually close in a game. There weren't a lot of games where they were kind of trying to dig their way out. You know, I think the thing with Matt Ryan, like, you can do that until you're trailing in a game. So
when you're trailing in a game, Cam Jordan sacked him 4 times in a game once.
Yeah, like you could try to, you know, get the ball out quick, do some different things, go more quick game. I got to see what Derek threw the ball, isolating play actions out of it last time, because like it was a little bit of a longer time, but they were using a lot of play action. So I mean, I think they're going to try to do all that stuff, but it's just kind of within the nature of the game. When you're losing, like, there's really only one way to play, and if you get brought down to that, I think the steam kills you, and I think that's what they try to do. Like, I think they try to be incredibly aggressive at the start of a game, so then all of a sudden you just got Boogeyman and Jason just coming at you on both sides of the line, and what do? Like, I don't like that for Derek. Derek's
Jason
the guy.
didn't have a very quick get off.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, man. He didn't. He didn't though. No,
There you go.
he didn't. But I mean, yeah, he probably does have the slowest get off. He's not. He's a high motor player though.
Oh,
he is
for
a
sure.
high,
He never gives up.
Yeah, he will
Never
not
gives
give
up.
up. He will not. He keeps getting back up.
3 years away. He's coming knocking on your door. Like he's not giving up. Yeah.
Yep, that's real. That'll do it for this episode of NewOrleans.Football. For those who are already subscribed, stick around for overtime. And for those who aren't subscribed, make sure that you're subscribed to NewOrleans.Football so you can get the ad-free version of this show. Overtime is next. Catch you next time.
Like he really can't.